Tom. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the CASH monthly membership meeting. I'm Jeff Becker. I'm your CASH chair, and I'm with the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. Looks like Courtney's getting our PowerPoint going here. We'll just keep right on going through some of the introductory materials while she does that. So I want to offer a special welcome to our first-time members, or new members and first-time attendees. So if you feel up to it, please introduce yourselves using that chat box. Make sure you're messaging everyone in the group, so all attendees, and we'd love to say hello to you there in the chat. For all of our attendees, you are muted, but again, you are welcome to ask a question or comment in the chat box. Just ask that you refrain from marketing the chat box so we can keep that communication channel clear for everyone. So if you could take us to the next slide, please, Caitlin. We'll talk a bit about our member portal. I can't say this is new anymore. We've had this for a little bit of time now, but if you are a member, you can create a profile and log in and manage your membership and access event handouts and connect with other members directly. So really encourage everyone to take advantage of that member portal. And if you do need help accessing that for some reason, you can email Aileen, and you see her email address down there on the bottom of that slide, and she can give you some assistance with getting logged into that. So we'll move straight into our updates this morning. If you could take us to the next slide. We have Kurt Cooknook here from the Division of the State Architect, and he's going to offer us an update on all of the happenings at DSA. So Kurt, I'll invite you up onto the screen, and I think you're going to share your slides with us.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, Kurt.
Okay. Load this up real quick here. All right. Bear with me for one moment. All right, good morning, everyone. Ida is away today, so unfortunately you get the number 2. But I'll try to do as good a job as Ida does. So we'll get right into this. So DSA is now open again for business. Since COVID, we've been closed to in-person meetings, but we once again opened up our offices for in-person meetings for over-the-counter plan reviews, back checks, pre-application meetings. We are still trying to show some caution. We're encouraging, but not mandating, that people wear masks. That's both our clients and our staff. But we also, at the same time, are equally encouraging you to come on in. We like the direct interaction, and I think it's important for the success of the meeting that we get to see one another. I'm not really one to enjoy this kind of meeting. I like face-to-face stuff, and I think my staff does too. So be advised, we're back open for business. Submittals, our daily intended submittal reports. We talk about this all the time. It's a tremendous resource we have from our metrics unit. And taking a look at the slide here from March, you can see we are still busy. March alone, we're looking at $618 million worth of work across all 4 offices. That's pretty heavy, and it continues to get heavy and heavier. If you look, here's what's projected for April. You can see we're at close to $1 billion across all 4 offices. So workload's good. It's good for everybody here, I think. You would all agree. The good news is we're continuing to keep up. I've said it in the past, and it bears repeating, that DSA has 3 ways in which to maintain its workload for plan review. Those are using our existing staff through overtime. And then we have our outside consultants that are approved to do our plan review process as well. And so those are a good stopgap for us so that we don't get behind on your projects and plan review. Moving on, I've got some informational items here for you. There's a lot of legislation coming out right now regarding employee and faculty housing, and also student housing as well. And so we're trying to stay ahead of that, make sure that we can be a resource to our clients and be a resource to the legislature as well as they try to make sure that these housing needs are met. And we're talking about housing needs for students and faculty in areas like the Bay Area where costs, or certain parts of the state where costs are for housing are so disproportionately high to the incomes of those who need housing. So I offer these documents here to you that are on our resource page as something for you to look at and consider if your district is looking at doing some housing projects for faculty or students. Post-secondary education student housing. The takeaway I want you to have from this particular slide is that one of the things that's coming out of a lot of the legislation is that there's a push for expediency of plan review. That's everybody's concern, including ours, of course. But in the area of housing, there's a consensus by a lot of folks that plan review at the local level is probably best, and DSA disagrees. For one thing, we write the regs, so we know the regs. So our access review is going to be the best that you can get. A lot of times, the local jurisdiction will think that structural safety is dependent on occupancy. It's not dependent on occupancy. It's always a priority. And that extends to fire life safety. So we do a very thorough review for all those things. And one of the things I think I would like for everybody to keep in mind is there's the old saying, if you don't have the time to do it right, where are you going to get the time to do it over? And applying that to access is significant, because if you don't go through a quality access review and your facility is constructed not in accordance with the access requirements, the lawsuit you face is going to be far more expensive than the cost of a DSA review and approval process and making sure that the facility is constructed properly. So we encourage you to work with DSA if this type of housing project you're going to be doing. And we also encourage you, as I mentioned earlier, about our offices opening back up, to take advantage, whether it's these types of projects or any other type of project, to take advantage of our pre-application meetings to make sure that in advance you're on the right path, you're using the right code, you're going to end up, if you're on the right path, where you want to be, and we want to help you get there. Okay. Next slide here I've got is I mentioned before in January when I presented, I think if you went to the CASH conference in February, touched on this as well. We've revised the remote electronic back check into 2 phases. This again is so that we don't have to drag you down here a bunch to our offices, and can be as expedient as possible. So it's 2 phases, and we should have everything pretty much electronically ironed out so that we can get this thing going hopefully by April, May. That's our intention. Next slide. Department of General Services, which DGS is under, has strategic goals for us, all divisions actually. One of our strategic goals is a tri-agency workshop working with the other 2 legs of the stool here, OPSC and CDE. And we're looking at how we can provide services together better. And there are some opportunities there, and that's why we've held the tri-agency workshops. We had one in February, we're having one in May, June, and hopefully from that we can be better organizations. We share this with you to let you know that we're very, very proactive. We're not just reactive to things. We're always looking for how we can improve, along with our partners at OPSC and CDE. Next slide, we've got strategic goal number 2. This is our roadmap to Cal Green carbon neutrality. This isn't to be confused with energy generation, or this is more about embodied carbon. A lot of people confuse the two. It's embodied carbon of materials and decarbonization strategies that are not energy related. Energy is the purview of the Energy Commission. So we'll make sure that folks know that that's the intent of this. If you go on our website, you'll see our strat goals. You'll see other things we're doing for carbon neutrality. Okay. This is who we are, and it's kind of new to a lot of people. Traditionally, DSA's focus has been if it could crush you, burn you, or block you, that's what we're involved in, and that's of course structural safety, fire life safety, and accessibility. And we've added sustainability because sustainability is safety. We've added it because there's disproportionate effects on disadvantaged populations in the area of water. That's potable water, extreme heat, vulnerability to fire. These areas are of concern to us, and so DSA is looking at those as well as an area for its coverage in its sustainability program. This is something we're just getting off the ground here, and I think you'll all be the benefactors of that as well. We try to do everything that's to your benefit, believe it or not. Net zero, this is on our website. I just want to put this back in front of you, that these are resources on our website. A lot of people are on our listserv, and if you're not, we can talk about that at the end of the slide show here. Hope you've had a moment to absorb that. We can come back. EB task force. I know this is a big one for a lot of you. Existing buildings, EB4. We're working to resolve this. Again, going back to previous slides on sustainability and embodied carbon, part of the importance of this, of course, is cost, but the other part is that 90% of embodied carbon is retained in the reuse of existing buildings. And so reuse preserves community identity and helps stabilize communities by preserving historic connections. And reuse is also, we believe, much more expedient to get a facility into whatever its intended use is at the end of its remodel or renovation. So we're looking at this from two different angles. We're looking at it from cost for districts. We're looking at it from a sustainability perspective. So we've got a task force in place. We've got a representative group of stakeholders, and we're going to convene about 4 meetings over the next 6 months. We've had one already, March 9th. We're going to have another one. We're looking at April 4th, and we're exploring the problems by asking a lot of questions and soliciting feedback from our stakeholders. We also have put out an RFP for a consultant to help us with coming up with cost considerations for existing buildings so that we can make sure that we get this right. We're going to be looking at this also through pre-cycle and formal rulemaking processes and code development and what their impact is. And we'll be soliciting more input from the public, from you folks as stakeholders as well, and users of the code, if you will. That covers that. IRA 22, we just issued IRA 22 update. Came out, I think, last month. It should have gone out to all you folks, letting you know that there are some changes in costs that have occurred. These changes, I know you can read, so you can read the screen and see what the new costs are. A lot of people wonder where those costs come from. Those thresholds have been increased in accordance with ENR's 20 city construction cost index for 2022. So they're tied back to cost of construction. We don't just make those things up as we go along. Accessibility valuation threshold update as well. See that detectable warning study. This is kind of an interesting one. It was actually, I'm sure this has been discussed. I have not discussed it, but this is a statutory requirement that had gone as an unmet requirement for quite some time. We did what's called a BCP, which is a budget change proposal to get the funds to have detectable warning study done by one of the testing labs so that they can evaluate detectable warnings so that we can make sure that what we are using in California meets the needs and is defensible. We have an access code collaborative. We are looking for new members. We need one design professional, and we need a couple of other folks who can represent from code enforcement and disability groups. So if anybody here on the call knows anybody or they themselves want to participate, we encourage you to reach out to us. More resources on access. Again, go to our website. Energy code updates. We're going to be putting together an IR hopefully this year. We've got a lot of demands on us, on our staff. I'm not going to cry the blues to you, but our bench is not real deep in some areas for the amount of staff that we have to take on new initiatives. But this one is pretty important. So this year we're going to be putting together an IR regarding PVs and battery storage requirements, and it's going to apply to new construction with some exceptions. And again, this is one of those areas that the regional managers would really appreciate if folks would come in for pre-application meetings for any of your PV projects that you're planning to be submitted in January of next year. So get ahead of this. All right, and any questions you have about these things, about pre-application meetings, I encourage you to reach out to the regional manager for guidance. Next item is the sustainability showcase. This is something that's coming up that we're going to be launching soon. It's we're going to feature a new building every other month, and we're going to be promoting sustainable facilities and also create a network of support. If you have an interest in this, then whoever the past project was, we'll incorporate them into our resources for you to reach out to if you so desire to have a ZNE facility. I think that's about it. I can do Q&A now if anyone would like to ask me questions I can't possibly answer. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thanks for that update, Kurt. You guys are busy. You've got a lot of stuff going on. I appreciate the involvement of inviting CASH to participate in the EB4 task force. Certainly that's important to our schools, as we do have a lot of older buildings that we're looking at and trying to figure out how to make sure that safety is the priority there. And then, the secondary question that always comes with that is funding for that. So also looking forward to the tri-agency workshops and one in May or June where we can have all the state agencies together in the same room. Certainly, the work of our state agencies impacts other state agencies as districts move their projects forward through them. So really appreciate that. I did see a couple of comments for folks that really want to get a hold of your slides. So if you send the slides over to Courtney, we can help distribute those out if needed.
Most certainly.
All right, well, let's move on to our next state agency. We have the Office of Public School Construction with us, and I believe we have Brian LePass. Good to see you, Brian, there in Yosemite. Beautiful place that you're sitting in virtually, and let you share with us what's going on at OPSC.
Thanks. Yeah, good morning. It's nice to be here. I hope you're all doing well. It's been a while since I've been to this meeting, so it's a privilege for me. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Brian Lepask. I'm the Operations and Policy Manager at OPSC. I have a brief update today. I know that Michael normally does these, but he's preoccupied this morning, so it provided me the opportunity to come see all of you, which is, like I said, it's nice to be here. So just some updates. I don't have a whole lot today, but just some stuff that I wanted to share. Priority funding apportionments from unfunded approvals that were granted in the second half of 2021. We had the ability to provide about $250 million in general fund appropriation. We did that in January. And so far, it was about 100 projects. And so far, we've received fund releases for about half of those. The remaining half have until Tuesday, April 26th of this year to submit a fund release. So we're tracking those. We reach out to everybody to make sure that we're aware of the status of those, and if there's any sort of issues that we can help with. So we like to facilitate those as much as possible. We're normally very successful and get the vast majority of them in, and at least kind of know the ones that aren't going to be able to convert. Hopefully this time all of them will be. So we're looking forward to that. And then speaking of apportionments, the state treasurer held a bond sale on, I believe it was March 9th. And so we're going to be presenting apportionments for those at the April State Allocation Board meeting. We're excited about that too. So we have a lot going on. Just trying to keep an eye on all the activity and making sure that these are all facilitated and moving well. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. That process is, I think, relatively straightforward. But if you have any questions, please let us know. And like I said, we like to reach out to everybody. So I'd be surprised if you haven't heard from us already. But if you haven't, or if you have any questions, let us know. Let's see. And then next here we had, Senate Bill 129 of last year, 2021, required that we do updates to the facility inspection tool. And for those of you that don't know what that is, you probably all do, but just in case, it's an optional tool you can use to, I guess, kind of determine the conditions of a school site, to see what improvements could be made, how the cleanliness of the site is. There's quite a few different aspects of it. We just wrapped up a cycle of 3 stakeholder meetings. For those of you that attended, thank you very much for your participation. We had a lot of really good dialogue, a lot of really good feedback, and we were able to incorporate the vast majority of it. It really worked out, I think, good. I think we made some improvements to it, and I think it's going to be a great tool for all of you to use moving forward if you choose to. Part of what the Senate bill required was that we have this changes in place for July 1st of this year. So we've had their stakeholder meetings. We have kind of a final product, which is pretty much what everybody saw at the 3rd meeting. And the plan is to take those forward to the April State Allocation Board for approval. And that'll get us in and have everything ready to go by July 1st. So again, thank you for all of you that participated. I know there's a lot of attendance and a lot of it's one of those things. I think there's a lot of opinions out there on what should be in it or what should not be in it, perhaps. But I really think that we got a really good end product, and we're excited about the changes that we made. So thanks again for everybody that helped with that. Couldn't have done it without you, that's for sure. So we really appreciate that. Then speaking of the joint agency workshop that Kurt mentioned, we're going to be having one. I think it's tentatively scheduled for May 5th. I don't know if that's concrete or not, but that's the date that I have, May 5th at 10 a.m. And the topic is going to be preparedness for emergencies, and how they can how emergencies like natural disasters or earthquakes or fires or things like that could affect school facilities, and then kind of things you can do to prepare for them. And then if they do happen, what the state agencies' roles are and what they can do to assist when that happens. And so that's going to be the topic of that workshop. We're working closely with CDE and DSA on that. We have had a couple meetings that I've been a part of, and I think we're going to have a lot of really good information for everybody at those. So we're looking forward to that. We plan on doing those, I think, going forward too. So there should be some other really great topics in the future as well. And then moving on to full day kindergarten, as most of you probably know, or probably everybody knows, the full day kindergarten program was expanded to include now funding for transitional kindergarten and also preschool facilities. That funding round opens April 1st, just in a couple days, closes on April 30th. We have been busy programming, developing our OPSC online database to accept applications. We just got done testing everything and it's looking really good. So we're going to have that available. We encourage everybody to use that to submit your applications. The application form, the 70-01, is going to be available through OPSC online. And then we're working on the kind of the downstream functionality for expenditure reporting and everything else that would be required for that program. So we're working on those things, but the front end of it is ready to go. So please let us know if you have any questions about how to use that, or if you're having difficulties. But we've been spending many hours, late hours, testing that and getting it ready to go. So we think it's going to be a really successful round. We think it's going to be a really successful program going forward. I know there's a great deal of interest in it. And so we're very excited about it, and we're really looking forward to getting this program going again. You probably know too that we're going to have another round next year. So this is the first round. I think we're making $225 million available, and then the balance of the funds will be made available next year. So it's really an exciting time for that team and for our office to get that program going. I know there's a great need out there, so we're pretty stoked about it. And then speaking of FDK, we have a new program supervisor. It's Lindsey Gordon. If you've worked with Lindsey, you will know how wonderful she is. She's absolutely awesome. Not a surprise to us that she was selected. We selected her, but she's been working with the program since she came to OPSC. She's very knowledgeable, not just with FDK, but on all aspects of our office. And she's a great addition to our management team. They're busy getting ready to process everything. They're preparing and getting everything ready to go. We actually got some new staff for the team as well. Their names are Vanessa and Solashina, and they're going to be ready to go too. They've been training, and they're eager to get started, and it's a fresh team. Joshua Potter's still involved with the team. Josh has also been promoted. He's now an operations manager in our office, which we're also very excited about. Josh is great. If you've worked with him, you would know that. So we're ready to go, and we're looking forward to this FDK round kicking off. And just in time for it, the regulations for the program were actually just approved, and they're effective as of yesterday. So that's great news too. So we got a lot of great stuff going on with FDK. That round is going to be opening up on the 1st, which I believe is a week from Friday. And so yeah, we're looking forward to that. I don't have anything else today. That was my brief update. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thanks again for having me today. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Brian. Good to see you again, even if just on the screen here. And I'm quickly scrolling through the chat to make sure that we don't have a question pop in. There was a question that popped up on when and where the new fit tool will be published.
When it is ready, it is ready, but once it's approved, I think it should be pretty much available right away, and we'll put it on our website. If you haven't already signed up for our email list, I highly recommend that. We'll send it out through that. We'll make it available on our website. So all the normal channels. That email list is really great. If any of you out there are new or haven't signed up for that list, I couldn't recommend it enough. All the most important updates we have, and I would say most pertinent updates, board announcements and regulations, and all those types of things. This would be included in there. They all go through that email blast system. So that's the best way. But otherwise, it would definitely be on our website. And I see Benjamin's question about where they can see the tool. If you go to our website and you go under meetings, there should be, if you go back into February and January, that's when we had the stakeholder meetings. You'll see them in there, and the items with all the attachments will be included. So, thank you, Joanne. I think Joanne just linked it for you. So yeah, you can see them there. If you have any questions, let one of us know.
All right, thanks, Brian. And questions are pouring in at the moment. But there was a question about the FDK and the prioritization of who gets included in that first round if it's oversubscribed.
That's a great question, Tom. So there's two main criteria for FDK. One of them is if you're a financial hardship district, and the other has to do with free and reduced price meal percentages. So those are the criteria that prioritize those projects. We also only fund one application per district until each district that applied has a project. And so that's another way to, I guess, sort of ensure that the money is being spread amongst districts.
And will that carry over into the second round as well?
I would expect it to, yes. That's oh, you mean if you were funded in the first round, you get funded in the second round? I don't think so. I think it's round by round.
Okay. So it would behoove districts to apply. Absolutely.
Yeah, we highly recommend that. Yeah. It's going to be oversubscribed. I think that's no secret. But if you have a project that's viable, there's no reason not to apply, I think.
All right. Well, thank you again for the update, Brian. Good to have you with us. And thanks for the folks in the chat as well. We'll move on now to our legislative and regulatory update, as well as a maintenance network update. We've got Rebecca Curley, Nancy Chaves Espinosa, and Ian Padilla. And I believe, Nancy, you are going to go first.
I am. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm going to start off today with a budget update. So the Senate has concluded its budget subcommittee work until the release of the May revision. The Assembly continues a full schedule of budget subcommittee hearings, taking a deeper dive into the governor's proposals. Your advocates have been making the rounds advocating for a one-time non-Prop 98 general fund appropriation of at least $8 billion for the school facility program to address immediate needs for new construction, modernization, and transitional kindergarten construction and conversion of classrooms. And what we mean by immediate needs are the acknowledged list all the way through the end of 2024. Meetings that we've been having include meetings with budget committee staff and leadership staff, the speaker and the pro tem staff. We're happy to report that legislative staff have asked great questions, deepening their understanding of the issues, and they've been following up with us, and we're very pleased to be able to be a resource. We don't have any developments per se to ask. There have been no actions taken. And we don't expect any really until most likely the May revision and, maybe possibly some conversations after the revised state revenues come out in April. But really most likely May revision. So we'll continue to have these conversations, but we don't expect actions per se until a little bit later. Another good development is that CASH has pulled together a coalition in support of this $8 billion ask, including some of the major statewide education management associations. So I want to take this opportunity to thank ACSA, CSBA, CASPO, the Small School Districts Association, and some individual districts that have joined us in this effort. And we only expect this coalition to grow. Elsewhere in the legislature, both houses have begun to hold policy hearings. Generally, they begin with the bills that were introduced last year, so the first year of a 2-year legislative session, because those have earlier deadlines. The advocacy team is just about ready to finalize our list of cash priority bills. We're dotting I's and crossing T's, but we will very shortly release our list of priority bills for 2022, and keep an eye out for that next week. My colleagues, I believe, will provide some highlights for you. I want to call out one trend that we are seeing. There are a lot of big, meaty, complex bills that require a high level of engagement from your cash advocacy team, but not necessarily positions out the gate. So I just want to flag that for folks. A lot of times we really equate supporting or opposing a bill with advocacy, but a lot of the work really is non-adversarial. It's a little bit more nitty-gritty and nuanced than that. So I think there's certainly a trend in that this year. And with that, I'm happy to pass it on to Rebecca.
Thank you, Nancy. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to chat a little bit about transitional kindergarten and then a little bit on legislation. So as Nancy mentioned, we are requesting $2 billion for transitional kindergarten facilities. That would be non-Prop 98 general fund, so the one-time dollars that are available in this unique time in our budget. We believe that the $2 billion would fund about 3,000 classrooms, construction or retrofit of those classrooms. That number is based on the number that OPSC is using to fund classrooms in the preschool TK and full day kindergarten grant program. So basing it off of what the program we're already working in. And with a local match assumed for the program, we believe that we could really leverage some significant dollars to meet the transitional kindergarten facilities needs and successfully implement our universal TK grade level. As Nancy mentioned, we're waiting for more information at the May revision and the June budget actions to determine how much the legislature and the governor really have to work with for one-time investments for capital purposes. But we believe that TK is a really excellent candidate for that, especially given the fact that it is a mandate from the state and schools are busy trying to implement and meet the needs for our youngest learners. There have been very robust conversations in our legislative subcommittees where the budget proposal is being reviewed. Now, remember, the governor does not include any specific TK facilities funding in his budget. So what's happening in those budget subcommittees is the legislators are asking schools and others, what do you need in order to successfully implement universal TK? And the resounding response from schools is we need support for our facilities, which is a limiting factor in implementing TK. There have been a lot of really good questions in those budget subcommittees about how we can get there. I think Senator Laird, who is the chair of the Senate Budget Subcommittee on Education Finance, asked a very good question, which is if we will have new students who are coming for TK starting next fiscal year, but we have such tremendous facilities pressures, how will they be housed? So they're asking some really good questions. And our dialogue with the Assembly and Senate budget and leadership staff has been very good. Cash has been focusing on a couple of points to help support our request for the $2 billion. Certainly, how do we size and identify that need, but also really emphasizing that the dollars, if they are provided by the state, they need to be available for both part day and full day programs. If facilities is such a limiting factor, we don't want the dollars to only go to programs that are full day. We understand that that may be the goal and ultimately where most districts want to get, but it's a stepping stone to get there. And we're also talking about how to incorporate transitional kindergarten students who will be becoming future students into eligibility determination under our traditional school facility program so that they're appropriately captured to help generate new construction eligibility during this transition where we're phasing in that grade level over a number of years. So I'll pause there. If there are any comments on TK or questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. And I'm going to pivot to some work on legislation. So as you know, we're reviewing all of the bills in details. Nancy's absolutely correct. There's a lot that is extremely complex out there that we're working through. Ian will talk to you in a minute about some of those bills. But I did want to give you a quick update. I talked about AB 902 O'Donnell previously. This is the bill that creates an alternative design build procurement methodology. Really, it's statutorily authorizing the use of what folks typically refer to as progressive design build, where you're adjusting and setting your guaranteed maximum price a little bit later in the process after you've designed your project. Cash does not have a formal position on this bill, but what we have been doing is to work through some significant concerns that we have in the language that's in print today. If you pull up the bill today, you're going to see a bill that looks very different from the bill that will probably be reviewed in the Senate Education Committee, as we are working with the sponsor, which is Los Angeles Unified School District, Assemblymember O'Donnell and his staff, and some other opponents of the bill representing subtrades and construction employers. So we are working through that. I am confident that we'll get to a place where cash will be neutral on the bill, and the conversation is moving in a very, very positive direction. I hope that when we see each other next month, I'll be able to announce that cash is officially neutral and that our major concerns have been met, but lots of progress there. And I want to thank your cash board member, Frank Camarda, very much for his expertise and his input in this process. It's been invaluable, and we've gotten where we are today because of his great knowledge and experience in this area. So thank you to Frank. Lastly, there are a couple of bills dealing with procurement, contracting. I have noticed this year that skilled and trained workforce is a popular item. There is one bill in particular, SB 1412 Hertzberg, that talks about establishing a pre-qualification process for any of the delivery methods that are requiring a skilled and trained workforce. So for K-12, that's lease, back, and design build. So we're going to be looking more closely at that bill and really understanding how it might affect your contracting and your procurement and your ability to use those delivery methods. So stay tuned. We'll be keeping you updated and continue to kind of peel back all the layers on these onions in the legislature. And with that, I believe that I'm passing it on to Ian.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And can I jump in and just, because there was a question that popped up for Rebecca, just clarifying that 8 billion budget ask is inclusive of the 2 billion for TK. So it's 6 billion for new construction and mod and 2 billion for TK, if you want to confirm.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So we're asking for $2 billion for transitional kindergarten facilities. And then the other $6 billion would be for our core new construction and modernization program in the school facility program. That has been sized based on the size of the backlog right now, which is about $3 billion through the end of 2021. And then each year we anticipate applications of about $1 billion in the core school facility program. So the idea is that with an additional $3 billion, it would get us through calendar years 22, 23, and 24 to get you to the full $8 billion ask.
Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks, Ian, for the interruption. I'll let you go now.
No problem. Thank you, Jeff and Nancy and Rebecca. Appreciate the updates. Yes, as usual, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to do a cash maintenance network update as well. And at the end, I'm going to do a quick Californians for School Facilities update for Dave Walrath. So I kind of wanted to call out that we're looking at April for cash as kind of a lot of focus, cash maintenance month. We're doing a lot of activity in this area, and you can see it's very topical. Don't really even need to sell it. The first thing is the cash maintenance management certificate program, getting together in person with a new cohort, and then also the last year's cohort, which because of COVID was not able to get together in person. So we're looking forward to that to set the work for the year in that leadership program. So a lot going on in there, and all the things we're talking about, obviously, I'm particularly focused on maintenance, will be discussed at a high level in that venue. The other piece related is, and Tom Duffy has referred to it, Tom and I are working for CASH and the Cash Maintenance Network, the joint technical trainings, and they are focused on maintenance, identifying need, planning, budgeting, sourcing funding, using empirical data such as CSFRI, other approaches to that to make your case for funding. So we think, again, it's particularly topical, and we're excited that it's in the kind of the technical training allows a lot more engagement, we think, with this important issue area. Just quickly, basically, there'll be an orientation on Zoom, and then in subsequent days, folks will break out into different areas and be able to go one-on-one and dive deeply into not just theoretical, but what it means to make these cases, engage in your LCAP process, use empirical data, employ a culture of planning. So that should be a very good one. It is in the last week of April. Last week of April, and I know that marketing is going to go out this Friday, so you will have plenty of detail about how to sign up for that and more information. Quickly, also, there's a lot going on in the policy arena for maintenance as well, and more broadly. Couple of bills that are emblematic, I think, of the focus that you've heard us talk a lot about. AB 2232 by Mr. McCarty, and that focuses on school HVAC systems. Basically, without getting too much into the detail, I would say that it would be an AB 841 or a CalShape for the whole state. So it involves a lot of existing law, but there are some new pieces in there that we need to take a very close look at. Again, all the TAB certified requirements essentially carry over into this policy approach, and we know that those have been problematic, but those are in there, as well as essentially new requirements or beefed up existing requirements on installation and monitoring of CO2 monitors. So that's a significant bill that we're going to dive into. Also, another bill to take a look at is SB 144 by Senator Wiener. I would say it has very much the same type of approach that this does for HVAC, except it's focused on school plumbing and lead abatement and so on. Really, you can tell these are the two parts of CalShape program, but these bills are I would say turning up the heat from a policy perspective on the existing policy. So for water, AB 746, this is starting to go beyond AB 846 with water assessments and so on, where the other bill 2232 again continues to focus on HVAC, but ramps it up. So and there are more bills in this area. Generally, dual plumbing, recycled water bottle filling stations required. We know there are some facilities implications there that are sometimes not envisioned by the authors and other stakeholders. Building standards compliance, all these types of things that you've been hearing us talk about that the agencies are working on. I would say there's even more legislation, a lot of it following up on what has been going on in the areas of air, water, energy, and resiliency. So that's all to say that CASH will continue to, or the maintenance network will continue to dig down into these issues and be part of all of our trainings as we go forward. The last piece I want to say is you heard OPSC talk about their effort to update the FIT. That's something to definitely take a look at. Again, the process is essentially done, as has been mentioned, but it's something to take a look at. And again, we'll be involved in all of our trainings, but that's something to take a look at because there is new stuff in there, right? Things that are optional. For instance, some new pieces related to cleaning standards and custodial staff accounting, seeing how many folks you have. It's optional, but it's likely there'll be some pressure for those things to happen. So you definitely want to, even before trainings and other pieces, you're going to be wanting to get a hold of that document, even before it's official. It is available on the OPSC website, and make sure that you get the March 3rd agenda, because it has all the most recent pieces that are very likely to be approved by the SAB in April. So I know time is short. I have a lot more to say about that. We're going to continue to work on that. If you have questions, definitely I'll be happy to address them with you individually. But with that, and my very quick California Californians for School Facilities update, our federal group, is that what they're working on, obviously, is the school appropriations bills that have pieces for the school facilities community. What I understand is that it's, as usual, it's not everything that we wanted, but it's not bad. And those bills are moving along very well. So for more detail about that, the CSF is going to have a meeting on April 12th. Also, they were planning to go out this spring to do their annual lobbying, but they have delayed that to the fall for a variety of, I think, logistical and strategic reasons. So that ends my update. If you have any more questions about any of these issues, again, happy to talk to you about them individually. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Ian, and thanks, Rebecca and Nancy as well. Looks like we got the questions as we went along, and it looks like Tom is wanting to volunteer to help you out, Ian. So always love that. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
And then Nancy, do you have anything on the School Energy Coalition? We'll kind of bop back to that slide if you have anything. I think you're muted, Nancy.
Sorry, I was frozen and unable to mute.
Oh, no problem.
But I do have a quick, short and sweet SEC update for you. Advocacy in opposition to the NEM 3.0 proposed decision that was released in December of last year continues. SEC staff met with CPUC staff on March 8th. It was, I would say, a very educational conversation. They asked some great questions and I think came to understand the context under which we operate and the constraints under which we operate a little bit better. So it was a positive meeting. SEC also participated in a large call-in event with other stakeholders during the CPUC's meeting last week in San Francisco. There's still no indication of when the PUC will issue a revised proposal. So we're keeping up the pressure and the visibility on the agency regarding NEM 3.0. Separate note, I also want to note that there was a great deal of interest among CASH members in solar and storage projects and electric vehicle charger installation. So I want to just reiterate that this is the work that SEC does. So please feel free to join us. Our next membership meeting is April 19th. And that's all I have, Jeff.
Thank you, Nancy, for that quick update. So I think we'll get back to the annual conference update. And I hope that those of you that were able to join us had a great time at the conference in Sacramento. We've got Alan here, our vice chair and chair of the annual conference planning committee, to give us an update. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, we had a fantastic conference. We celebrated the 43rd annual conference just a month ago in February, and it was a resounding success based upon all of the comments of all of the attendees. It was a fantastic success. There was a thirst, there was a desire to return back to a face-to-face conference, and I think that this was such a great success. Just kind of a quick kind of fingertip fact. We're all back. We were up 32% over what we did last year, which is a good return. We're still a little bit off of our pre-pandemic norms, but a 32% increase in attendees is a great return to normal. But just as quickly as we're celebrating our success, we're putting rolling up our sleeves and diving right back into the planning for the 44th annual conference. That planning session will start today, just after this meeting at 1 p.m. If you're available and if you'd like to become involved and become a crucial part of the planning for the 44th annual conference, which will also be in Sacramento. And the dates are February the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of 2023. Join us at 1 p.m. as we begin kicking off planning and talking about reviewing a lot of those comments that were made and areas for improvement as we look to make the 44th annual conference the best ever. So hopefully all of you will join us as we work on the next conference. So I'll turn it back over to you, Jeff.
All right, thanks a lot, Alan, and thanks everyone for your hard work on that. I'm sure that the 44th is going to be the best ever. All right, let's move on. We have one of the things I've enjoyed about these meetings is hearing from our school district folks on their COVID-19 reopening experience. And today we've got Michael Collins. Michael's with San Jacinto Unified School District. So Michael, I see you've jumped up on the screen here. Thanks for being with us. I'll let you share a bit about your experience.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I want to share a little bit about our story of construction during the pandemic and how we've been impacted by the Attorney General legal opinion with OPSC. So I'm going to start with a little bit of how we constructed. We built a 45 classroom middle school during the midst of the pandemic. Material costs were high and were escalating daily, as everybody knows. We didn't have sufficient funds to build the entire school, so we only awarded part of the school. We were counting on the state's 50% match, which, as we all know, isn't a 50% match. We actually pulled out 2 buildings and awarded what we could. Then we went out and we obtained a loan to finish these other 2 buildings. And the other 2 buildings we built, we had correspondence with DSA, CDE, and multiple emails with OPSC telling them we were going to build modular buildings because we were able to save money by doing that. In fact, we saved over $2 million by going with modulars instead of the permanent design buildings. These aren't extravagant classrooms. You know, they have whiteboards and digital displays on the front of the classrooms, but they don't have teaching walls. Our big mistake was that we used a piggyback bid. DGS reissued the Attorney General legal opinion that was from 2006 in the middle of the pandemic, after we awarded our modular classrooms. OPSC has informed us this month that the classrooms are the first to be challenged for funding based on the Attorney General legal opinion 16 years ago. OPSC has not just deemed the modular contract ineligible, an ineligible expense, they have determined that the classrooms do not qualify for funding. This is denying us funding for seats that have clearly been constructed well above the cost of the modulars. In my opinion, the approach by OPSC is punitive and causes way more damage than just the cost of the modular buildings. OPSC is proposing we lose all the grants associated with these modular classrooms. This impacts the cost that was incurred by 11 contracts, other contracts associated with the modular classroom project. The legal opinion was resurrected from 2006 after we had already awarded our 26 classrooms in the midst of the pandemic. In our minds, using the piggyback bid, we legally bid the classrooms at the time. The Attorney General's opinion was not well advertised prior to our award of the modular classrooms or after its initial posting in 2006, as was requested by the State Allocation Board. The whole Attorney General legal opinion hinges on the definition between personal property and real property. Personal property can utilize a piggyback bid, and real property attached to the ground cannot, according to the Attorney General opinion. It's interesting to me that if you look up in Webster Dictionary the definition of real property, it's defined as immovable property. Our modular classrooms can be moved. I have asked, who is this Attorney General legal opinion designed to protect? I'm not going to answer that in this meeting. My recommendation to all my fellow school districts is not to use piggyback bids for school construction, even though we all know it's a great tool that saves time and money. To the OPSC staff that are present in this meeting, I hope we can work collaboratively to come up with an equitable solution to San Jacinto Schools, Unified School District's middle school funding problem, along with the other school districts that are in this situation. In the midst of this pandemic that's ongoing, districts need more support, not less. So Jeff, thank you for allowing me to speak to the group.
Michael, thanks for sharing your struggles with your project that you're trying to do during the pandemic and move that forward. I know that Cash is engaged in conversations around that opinion and how we can get to a workable place with the piggyback issue. So we'll keep our membership informed as we do that. You've been courageous in sharing your experience and the impact that it has to your school district. And certainly it's not the impact that we want to have on our students to starve for funding on other projects. So we will certainly keep our membership informed as to where this issue stands. It is a pretty technical issue, and I know it's of importance to a lot of our school districts as well as our associate members. So appreciate you being with us today, Michael, and sharing that. And we will, I'm sure, have further conversations around this topic. So
Thank you.
all right, let's wrap up here. So I just want to remind everyone of the opportunity that we have to post onto the CASH website, job exchange and people's choice items, RFQs, openings that you may have at your district or firm. Great way to reach a broader base of recipients. And I've had some success in using this, so I can endorse it wholeheartedly. So make sure that you're checking out the CASH website and posting those opportunities. And you see some of them there on the slide in front of you. And you can log in again through the website and the portal to post those items. So make sure you do that. And then our last slide. So I just want to remind everybody, I think Ian mentioned the technical training on maintenance budgeting that's coming up. And again, the dates for that are April 25th for a Zoom session, and then the hands-on portion for our school districts and county office folks, April 26th in Southern California and April 27th in Northern California. And the 27th session will be in the afternoon to accommodate Cash Day, which is also on April 27th. So make sure to mark your calendars for that. We're excited to have a kind of a hybrid technical training opportunity with a Zoom component as well as an in-person component. And then looking forward to also being with all of you again on the 27th in this forum. So thank you very much, everyone, for taking time out of your day to be with us. Wish you all a great day and a great week as we move into spring, and enjoy that California weather today. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.